Thank you so much for coming. And I think that we have we're streaming live with Binance. Is that true?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think that there are several hundreds of people who are going to be watching this this live. Maybe thousands. Yeah, you never know. Wonderful. Okay, so let's get started. Let's get started by having all of our panelists introduce themselves. So would you like to start off? Can you guys hear her?
No.
Okay. If not, well, I can always donate my mic.
Okay, now.
There we go.
Perfect. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Heidi Hurskainen. I'm the CEO and founder of an emerging fund called Revon Ventures. We are planning to build a VC fund investing in early stage fintech companies here in the Nordics, Baltics, and DACH region. My own background is in banking and in cryptocurrencies. So I've been working for 10 years in the banking industry. And then during the past 7 years, I've been working in cryptocurrencies. And well, the last 4 years as a CEO of CoinMotion, which is one of the biggest cryptocurrency service providers here in the Nordics. I've also been in the board of the Cryptocurrency Association of Cryptocurrency Association Consensus, and also in the board of directors of several cryptocurrency companies. So before trying my venture here in the VC world, I have been in your shoes. I have been on the entrepreneurial side. So yeah, here we are. Thank you.
So if you have an emerging project, then this is definitely the person that you should speak to. Wonderful. So Ivan, would you like to introduce
Hey guys, a pleasure to be here. Helsinki in Finland is very, very beautiful and very welcoming. I got started in the technology space since pretty early on. I was the first people to build apps for the iPhone. Built and sold my first app at 17, and then started investing back in technology. I was an early investor in over 100 different Web2 startups. Was the first investor in Ease.com, Uber from Marijuana, we're the fastest growing company in the US in 2016. Came across Bitcoin first time in 2014. That's when I bought my first Bitcoin, but didn't really get deeply involved in the space until 2016, when a lot of the companies I invested in started reaching out to me and saying, can you help us with the blockchain? Invested in about 2 or 3 dozen startups between 2016 to 2018. Was an early equity investor in companies like XRP Ripple, Hedera Hashgraph, 10 billion valuation, which all of them are worth billions of dollars today. And I realized this is the future. From 2018 till now, I've traveled to over 2 dozen countries, spoken over 150 events live in person, trying to push the crypto and Bitcoin movement forward and educate as many people as possible about this movement. In the last 3 to 4 years, I've invested in over 400 different startups, mostly in Web3. Advised about 30 to 40 companies that have taken pre-listing to post-listing, hundreds of millions of dollars of volume on day one, 50 to 100x return for our investors. I write for all the top-tier media, Cointelegraph, Forbes, Entrepreneur, Hacker Noon, Cryptonomics, and some more. I have a community of about 2 million people on Instagram. I've been pretty deeply in NFT space, bought all the top NFTs on chain, a bunch of Bored Apes, CryptoPunks, Doodles, Azukis, Konexes, and some more. I write about that on my Twitter. And yeah, that's the way I manage the community. Thank you.
Wonderful. So I got my daughters involved into crypto 4 years ago after meeting up with Ivan. So I really appreciate all the work that you guys have been doing, since the very beginning. And we have definitely, as a family, benefited from the wonderful things that you and the entire community is doing. So thank you so much. And moving right along to our very own Mari, how are you doing? Thank you so much for coming, and please share with us what you are what you're busy with these days.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Probably yes. So I'm Mari, principal at IceBreaker, not CEO. Even this event has some kind of obsession pushing that title to me, but definitely not something that I would pursue. I identify myself as a builder. I started my career 20 years ago by building 1,000 plus affiliate marketing websites, and that transferred to different roles related to marketing and growth in startups. I got into crypto in 2012. I was working with Martti Malz, the early Bitcoin developer in SC5, which was first company in Finland paying salaries in Bitcoin. Quite nice. Bitcoin was worth $20 back then. So quite early. I have never seen bear market from that perspective. Then my next peak to crypto world or Web3 was in 2016-17. I started already at one startup, but I also did a couple of hobby marketing gigs for different ICOs, actually for 25 ICOs that raised quite a lot of money. So that was before regulation and everything, and that was quite interesting time. Obviously, I nowadays own probably millions of completely worthless tokens after that period of time, but I never imagined the industry coming back from the regulation so fast, because basically all the marketing channels shut down during 1 week, and but it came back. But then I stopped my career in startups in 2019, joined IceBreaker, which is pre-seed venture capital investor. We had 140 million euros that we invest in pre-seed companies in Nordics and Baltics, over 100 portfolio companies, some Web3, some crypto-related, mainly good old B2B SaaS, but we invest in pretty much it.
Wonderful. So Mari is definitely someone who all of you should know, because Business Finland has told me to definitely connect with Mari, because she knows the ecosystem really, really well. Okay, so now we have several questions. And I think that the best way for me to do this is throw the question out there to the panel, and whoever wants to take their first stab, they can take their first stab. If anyone wants to follow on, and then we'll move on to the next question. Okay, so the first question that I have is, how do you guys see the role of venture capital evolve in the Web3 space? And I'll open up to any one of you.
Yeah, I think that it's really interesting, because if we think about the core of Web3, it's decentralized, and the financial sector has been for a long time really centralized. So I think that the VCs, at least right now, play a crucial role in financing and being enablers in building the infrastructures of Web3 and the decentralized technology. But definitely going to the future, the Web3, when we go to mainstream, it will revolutionize the way companies get funding. So DAOs will definitely be there. ICOs will be the forms of companies getting funding. So definitely something that will be changing in the future.
Ivan.
I think there are already great examples of this happening at a very big scale. There are a bunch of, you can call them DAOs, but they existed before DAOs was even a word, right? So there are community VCs like Gains Associates, Dutch crypto investors. There's a bunch of this Telegram groups that exist together of a bunch of retail people, and they invest together in companies. And this is how Web3 VC ecosystem actually works. A lot of the companies that raise capital today are not going to traditional VCs. They're going to these Telegram VCs, community VCs, and that's how we're seeing venture capital be disrupted in a very, very big way. I was investing in companies before Web3. I was in a lot of Web2 startups, but to invest in a Web2 startup, you have to be an accredited investor. That means you have to have either $250,000 of income a year or $1 million in net worth, which removes most of the world, right? So now with Web3 VC, what we're seeing is anybody, even if you just have $20,000 to your name, you can join one of these communities, you can see the projects, and choose to invest in one of these projects by yourself. I think that's the most exciting way that I'm seeing venture capital be disrupted in a very, very big way. And the results and the rewards are also being given back to the community. There's not going to a few people who control which projects to get into or which projects don't get funded, but it's actually open to everybody. So if you are a lawyer and you're part of one of these communities, and you see a legal tech startup, you could be like, this is pretty interesting, I want to support this. I only have $100, but I can also give them my value. So I think that's the real innovation that we're seeing in Web3 we see that we have not seen before.
Wonderful. So there's a timer that has been put up right in front of us. Mari, would you like to add something, or would you like me to move on?
Nothing that much to add. What I really see as like a fascinating aspect there is basically what I saw while during the ICOs. So obviously, like during the ICOs, there was a lot of this, like when Lambo kind of group activity, but beyond that, I already saw that possibility of making raising funding more inclusive and diverse in the future with this mechanism, and that is something I find very fascinating because still in traditional investing there is some class ceilings that women and underrepresented like groups need to break and make the capital not that accessible. But when we are moving to that direction, I see a lot of opportunities there making capital distribution more inclusive.
So you're absolutely right. Gender equality is a very, very big plus point if it's brought into this this ecosystem. I'm a father of 2 daughters, so I'm all for this. So let's start off with the next question. We'll start off with Mari. So what do you think how do you think cryptocurrencies will be shaping the global economy, and how does this influence your investment strategy?
Well, I would hope to see the accessibility thing to be growing a little bit more. That was something that I really experienced during the ICOs. It was first time as a woman that no one really cared about my gender. I could have had like a similar like a face on my profile, and basically my experience and expertise was the thing that mattered the most. What comes to like traditional like investing, like with Web3, like it's not only the issue with Web3 companies, but also like the average startup has the same very similar issue that a lot of these projects don't have any value, and but that's not only as mentioned like only the Web3 issue, but you can see that a little bit more in Web3 projects, that they are just fun, a little bit too technical projects that don't bring any value to anyone. So I would like to see a couple of things there when this market evolves, like more that accessibility for minorities and underrepresented groups, but also figuring out the actual value for the community that the project is bringing, because that will enable the access to capital as well.
Okay, I think you've touched upon this, and I'm going to jump onto the next question, and I'll throw it to the both of you distinguished guests. What would you consider the most significant distinction between investing in Web 2 and Web 3? And you've been investing in Web 2 from the get-go. So if you could share your thoughts, Web 2, Web 3, where's the value that you're seeing?
I mean, as purely as an investor, liquidity is the best differentiator. I've invested in a lot of Web2 companies 10 years ago, and they have done really well, where on paper at least they're over 100x, but I can't sell them because they're still not public. The shares are still on paper, right? I mean, I could go through a lot of effort and hustle, find some investment bankers, liquidate it, but it's a real struggle. Versus in Web3, you could invest today, token goes to market in 3 months, and there is a market that wants to buy your tokens. So that is the biggest differentiator, and that's what's also allowed me to invest in 400 companies, because I could invest today, I could realize the return pretty quick, reinvest the capital again. So the biggest differentiator for me, and that's why I love investing in Web3, is that you have instant liquidity, which does not exist in Web2. So I would say that's the biggest differentiator for me. But there's also a lot of other factors, right? In Web2, you are competing, there's a lot of gatekeeping. You're competing with other investors who are already like well-known, and they get a better term sheet, better deals than you would get. Versus here, that's not the case. In Web3, everybody is pretty open. You can see who has what access to deal. And most of the time, everybody has the same access. There is no gatekeeping, there is no discrimination. So these are the 2 biggest differences I would see. But outright as an investor, nothing beats the liquidity that you get in Web3 as when it comes to investing.
Wonderful. Would you like to add to this? Or
Yeah, I think that analyzing the different projects in Web 2 and Web 3, it has an additional challenge to analyze the Web 3 projects, mainly because of if you think about the user adoption, the the users are already used to be using the infrastructures that we have in Web 2. So when people are starting to use the Web 3, you have the barrier of entry because you need to educate the users to use those kind of tools.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing is with the revenue streams. So, whereas the revenue streams in Web 2 are more easily seen, you have the subscription fees, you have different kind of advertising fees that you get in. The monetary system and the revenue systems in Web3 are different. So it adds that challenge when you really need to like analyze the different projects from the investor perspective.
Wonderful. So that actually leads very well into our next question, and we'll start off with you, Mari. So Web3 has its own challenges with respect to investing, and Heidi just touched upon a few of them. Would you like to elaborate and tell us about where you're seeing the challenges in Web3? As an investor, maybe. I think.
I don't really see that much challenges because we invest in so early stage. So usually when we make the investment decision, it's purely the team and their vision. And when you invest in pre-seed, it's never the product that they end up building the business with that they had the original idea. So it iterates every time. And it can overlap from Web 2 to Web 3 or opposite way during the journey. So, and then building the successful Web 3 company or a project like if the team really focuses on generating some value to someone, like it shouldn't be that hard. But in average, like we check thousands of cases every month, and it's very hard actually to build something that someone needs and needs so bad that they would like to pay for it. So that's like, I think that's a universal issue. It's not related to any web, anything basically.
Okay, so although Ivan touched upon this, could you also touch upon, we talked about the challenges, right? Could you touch upon specific opportunities that are there in the Web3 space? We'll start off with you and then we'll work down the panel. So while we're talking about this, Mari, would you like to talk about any specific areas of opportunity?
Opportunities, I definitely see the accessibility.
Accessibility.
Yeah, the biggest opportunity that you are not tied into something that I don't know, like a world expects you to be like. That's been definitely one of the most like empowering aspects of especially the women's like Web3 communities.
Okay, so I'm going to shift gears now. The opportunities are there. There are lots of very good deal flow that might be coming your way, but you have to figure out which deal flow is right for you, right? What is right for your portfolio? So, Ivan, would you like to jump into talking about due diligence?
For me, the number one factor I look at when I invest in a deal is who bought me that deal, right? What is the level of trust?
So referral. Yeah.
Crypto is built on peer-to-peer trust. That's the whole underlying idea behind Bitcoin. If I trust you, you trust her, I trust her. That's how this whole industry works. And for me, like I would say sometimes like a little bit of mafia. If you know the right people and you have provided value to the people before, they will come back to you with the right deals. So the number one thing that I look for when I invest in a deal, I don't recommend you do this. I don't know what kind of network you have, but I've built my network over a long time. But the number one thing that I look for is who brings me that deal and what is the level of trust with that person. Because I'm not doing too much diligence. I also invest very early, mostly pre-seed, seed, and most of the time the companies will change. They will not be the same when you start. So the person who knows that team well, what they say about that makes a lot of the difference for me. I obviously look at a lot of other things. What kind of community they have. Are these people really passionate? What have they done in the past? What have they done before? What they're doing now? That speaks a lot. Speaks volumes about the person's character. But for me, the number one due diligence factor is who is bringing me that deal, and that is how I've been able to do what I do, and it's worked out really, really well. Because if you bought me a great deal today, I will take the next great deal that I get back to you because I want you to keep bringing me amazing deals, and that's how this industry works, at least as far as I've seen.
So as all of you have been hearing, one thing that is both our speakers have touched upon is the trust factor. And referrals are very, very important. And as Ivan talked about, the Telegram group, so maybe that's a very good opportunity for you to start looking at. Now, let's shift the gears slightly. You are an emerging fund, and based upon whatever you've been seeing and whatever you've been hearing, when you go out to make your first set of deals, what do you think that you will be looking for as a part of your due diligence?
Well, there are several things. I think that if you are investing in early stage, as we are, the main thing is to support the team. But there's a lot of other things that you need to be checking apart from the deal. Of course, if it comes with reference, it's a good thing. But you need to check, depending on what area of Web3 the company is, but of course, is the regulatory DD that you need to make, the information security DD that you need to make. You need to check if the team has the sufficient knowledge to be able to perform and build what they're saying that they're building. And I think that it's also really important to make, of course, the DD process always depends on how much money you're putting in, right? So if the ticket is 50K, the DD process that you're making is not the same as putting 2 million. So there's one thing. But yeah, I think that also making this kind of risk assessment on the different areas of the business is really important, because as you have made the risk assessment, you can mitigate those risks and make a plan on it. So, and these are things that many times in early stage companies are not thought. They think about the business, but they don't think about the risks. But we are in money business. I think that you need to understand what are the risks associated to this. And when we are in a regulated business, when we will be soon around MiCA, so this will also imply different kind of process from the beginning. And I think that's a good thing.
Wonderful. So while we're on this thought, I'm just going to ask you to name one thing, right? What is a very big red flag? A very big red flag. And the reason why I'm asking this is because there's several people who are out there who want to really, get into this, get in front of VCs, but maybe they don't know what a red flag is. So for you, if you could just point, what is a red flag for you? In your DD maybe.
Hide words.
Okay.
without.
So stay away from the buzzwords, right?
I mean, for me, I would say it's like anonymous teams. Like when the project is launched without a team behind it, you don't know what happens to it. But that said, if you know who the team is, but it's anonymous to the public, that's a different thing.
Got it.
There are some protocols that are built by anonymity that are really well. But generally, most of the time, if there is no team on the page, then I'm not really going to be investing in.
And how about you?
Well, our DD is obviously very lightweight, because usually we invest in pre-product, pre-revenue teams. It's basically a team that we are evaluating, but at least personal red flag is, and this is extremely common, and also a big blocker between whatever you're making and the actual value generation, is that have you had any interviews that validates that someone actually needs what you're doing? So some kind of it doesn't have to have big numbers from the traction or data perspective, but some indication that someone needs what you're doing.
Okay, so
one thing, I think that it's also important to understand that finances as well, in this sense, it's a person business. So you need to have chemistry also with the party investing in you, especially if the tickets are big, because you'll basically be married with that person. So I think that's one part, an important part also on the DD process. You need to understand if you have chemistry and if collaboration will work in the long term.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, and I know that the answer to this question is going to be very long, right? But we're going to try to see how we can keep it as short as possible. Do you have any case studies of successful investments that you've made in Web3, and would you like to highlight any of them? And no one has an NDA over here, so.
I mean, I can take a lot of names. It depends. If successful where I made the most money, or successful where at the highest multiple. But
so however you would like to define it.
There are projects which I've advised where I made an investment, but I also had additional tokens on top, because I was an advisor, helped them more than with just money. which have made me really, really fortunate. Nakamoto Games, the the ecosystems that are out there, they are doing really, really well these days. Polka Fantasy, another play-to-earn ecosystem. CoinSpade is another project I advise. They're actually close by to you guys in Estonia here. They are one of the largest Bitcoin payment processors. They process over 5% of Bitcoin transactions on chain worldwide. So I invested, I got some advisory tokens there also. In terms of purely just ROI, what I just invested in nothing for the projects except money was CryoWar was a 200x for me. Blocktopia was 1000x or 900x plus in the investment scene. There was a few others that did really, really well. I'm very fortunate to be in this space. I'm grateful for that.
Would you like to share your thoughts?
In the portfolio.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Any success stories and what you liked about them?
I could mention one company. We don't have that much Web3 companies that I would have like full of case studies for you, and most of them are super early. But one very interesting one is called Vestia. So an Estonian quite early stage company building not directly Web3 anything, but basically a KYC and money laundering processes and SaaS service for different companies, but they have quite some traction on Web3, and I think the kind of solutions in Web3 are going to be very important. Saying this by doing ICOs before regulation, and it was really the Wild West. So I think the kind of services are very much needed.
Mari, I think that this whole room can learn a lot from the deal flow that you have entertained, and she's definitely a person to watch. I'm going to quickly jump on to the next question, and you are an emerging fund, okay? So, as an emerging fund, when you are looking at your deal flow trajectory for the next few years, what kind of trends are you spotting or identifying or forecasting that might come in place?
Well, we're currently analyzing the market, and it's important to notice that we are investing in financial technology. So it's a lot more
fintech.
than fintech. So basically, it's a lot more than Web3. Of course, well, if we look at the fintech side, we are shifting from standalone products to integrated embedded fintechs. And this was something that already was also spoken here in a previous panel. And that's it.
Okay, so because we have a limited time, I'm going to let either one of you tackle this. So whoever goes first. With respect to the trends that you're seeing in Web3.
When you say trends, you mean like trends which actual product development happening, or trends which the retail market is excited about? Because these are two very different things.
Okay, so in the next year, right? Let's say 23, 24, right? What kind of trends do you think that you as an investor would want to put your money behind?
I mean, the best performing investments that I've invested after 2023 started, and also realized the best one is probably the intersection of AI and crypto. Because AI itself has been very disruptive, even outside of blockchain, even outside of Web3. I mean, I have yet to see a technology as disruptive as AI, and I believe everything you can think of, how you work, how you play, how you meet people, everything's going to be disrupted by AI. A lot of people are going to lose your jobs, so be ready for that. But AI will also create new jobs. So I think the intersection of that has already at least reaped the great rewards. My best performing investments this year were ChainGPT and CryptoGPT. And the next, I think, will also be very good are also GPT projects.
Wonderful.
So this is a big trend in crypto right now. And also, outside of crypto also.
Before we wind up this panel discussion, I think that all of our audience and the audience that's listening in, we would love to hear your advice that you would give to startups that are seeking capital who are in the Web3 space. So one very important piece of advice that you would like to share. Mari, would you like to start us off?
Happy to. This is my favorite topic, so that's what I'm sharing. So talk to people to validate that you are actually building something that's amazing.
Yeah. So again, this is the second time that Mari has said this. So you need to validate your idea. So make sure that you're building something that is really, really relevant. Thank you so much for that advice, Mari. How about
I always like to say, like, focus on adding value, right? Focus on creating value, and then shine the light on what you're doing. Eventually, you will do well. Like, a lot of people come to me like, how do we raise money? I'm like, build credibility and build community. Once you have credibility and community, the capital comes to you. The best deals in the space, I have to fight to get in. I have to offer them a lot more than just money. Otherwise, they don't need because they have 100 people who can invest in them. So, if you want to be in that position, you need to focus on adding value to others. The more value you add to others, the more success you will get back. And then, this is not just anybody who wants to raise capital, but just anyways, the best way to predict the future is to go build it. So if you want to really focus on what's happening in the future, start building and start shining a light on what you're building, and eventually you will find one or the other investor will come and support you.
Wonderful. So to summarize what he said, credibility and community. That's something that's very important in this particular space for Ivan. And how about yourself?
Yeah, I think that those were really good points on that side. It's not necessary to say that the valuations have gone down and you need to focus on profitability and adding value. But I think that the final touch that I want to give here is to the founders, and I think that it's really important that the founders trust themselves and trust their guts. You will find a lot of people that will have a lot of opinion about the things that you're doing, and it's really important to be humble. It's really important to learn what you're doing, learn the sector where you are, but the founders are actually superstars, and they are the ones that have the vision of the future. Like, you are the ones who have the ball. It's not potentially the VC, it's not the business angel. It might, like, you are the one who knows what's coming in the future. So trust yourself and don't let people let you down and kill your dreams on that.
Wonderful. So to summarize what was said over here is believe in your own magic. Right? So you're creating magic, believe in your own magic, and stick by it regardless of what may come. There will be lots of people who will be naysayers, so avoid those naysayers and just go do your magic. And with that, I would like to thank this wonderful panel. Let's give them a very big round of applause. And we hope to see all of you over here in Helsinki very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.